Shalom, Yasharala Shalom. It's the brother Ash Ibad, and I want to give all praises to Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi. And basically, man, in this video, I want to go over, this topic in regards to, can you be a Kemetic Israelite? This is from, this video is inspired by this dude on Twitter who's one of those Israelite / Kemetic / African motherland type of dudes. He was a dude who actually inspired that video where I broke down who are the Israelites according to the Bible, where, I try my best to show that the Israelites were so-called darker skinned people, but that were different from the tribes of Ham and Canaan, etc., right? Because a lot of times people who detract the quote-unquote Hebrew Israelites, the Israelites, they oftentimes like to group us as Hamites. They oftentimes like to group us as Cushites, Canaanites. And they like to say that we're just trying to hearken on to a quote-unquote religion that makes us special, when in actuality we're just from the land of Kemetic, which is a far-fetched thing. And basically, a lot of times people say stuff like this because they don't research, they don't really believe in the Bible, and they're trying to do anything to detract from the Bible so that way they can keep worshiping the ancestors. Quiet as kept. So we're gonna get into it, man. This is a dude, I've gone back and forth with him. I don't go back and forth with him now because it's a waste of time, but I thought it was a good way to edify brothers and sisters. So the dude said, Kemetic Israelites, Genesis 41 and 45. And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zaphanath Paneah, and he gave him to wife Asenath, the daughter of Potipharah, priest of On. And Joseph went out over the land of Egypt. What exactly is a priest of On? What is On? Let me show you something. Where is On? So this is the word for On, right? The Egyptian Iyun or Anu, pillar city, in the Bible is known as On. Hebrew, Beth-Shemesh, the Sun Temple. Greek, Heliopolis, one of the most ancient Egyptian cities and the seat of worship of the sun god Ra. On was important as a religious city. So long story short, the brother is trying to quote unquote show other people that the Israelites were pretty much the same as the Kemetic tribes because they quote unquote worship the same God, quote unquote, right? So let's read it. It says, Joseph, son of Jacob, married the daughter of the high priest of On. Potipharah was a high priest in the Kemetic city of On. Egyptological transcription is Ainu, but it appears in biblical Hebrew as On, Awan, and Beth-Shemesh. And this is a map. And this is basically talking about how when Joseph, he was sold into bondage in the land of Egypt. And y'all understand the story about how Joseph and his 11 brothers, as well as Jacob, the patriarch, they eventually dwelt in the land of Egypt where they would serve strangers for 400 years, correct? So this is him quoting Jeremiah 43 and 13. It says, he would demolish the sacred pillars Ayuna / Onu of the temple of the sun in Egypt, Beth-Shemesh, and he will burn down the temples of the gods of Egypt. Here we have the Most High threatening to destroy Beth-Shemesh. It says, the Philistines also invaded the cities of the lowland and of the south of Judah and had taken Beth-Shemesh, Ajalon, and Gederoth, and Soko with the towns thereof, blah, 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 blah. It says, and in all the above verse, Beth-Shemesh is said to be one of the towns of the tribe of Judah. So why is there a Hebrew town called the City of the Sun, the same name as the ancient Egyptian religious capital? Joseph married into an Egyptian high priest family of this exact city. And I want to stop right here because his brother either got one or two theories. Either first thing, and I've heard this before, and a lot of Jakes oftentimes say this, is he's trying to equate the land of Israel with the land of Egypt. And long story short, with a lot of these dudes who follow Kemeticism and ancient Egyptology and say that we are our ancestors and we're really from the land of Egypt and all this other bullshit, is they try to equate, again, the land of Israel with quote unquote being ancient Egypt. Y'all brothers have seen a lot of dudes who be bugged out and will always talk about that. Or again, what he's trying to say is that the Israelites practice the same religion as the Kemetic tribes, right? Is one of the two. But again, a lot of times you can be too deep from something that's a very basic concept when you just do some basic research, right? So he says the same city that was eventually given to the Levitical priesthood after the Exodus, Beth-Shemesh on Heliopolis, the city of the sun. This biblical mythology has nothing to do with the Levant and everything to do with ancient Africa. So basically what he's trying to do is equate many of the promises in the Bible. He says that it's all mythology and it copies ancient Africa. And a lot of times you get this with dudes where they'll say that the 10 Commandments came from the Ma'at. The laws of the Most High really comes from, you know, ancient Egyptian laws, and we stole that's where I got into this not with a back and forth, but that's where I first found this dude's post where he said the Bible was based off of ancient spirituality, bruh, Negro spirituality. And I went back and forth with dude, and after a while I quit wasting my time. But you got a lot of jakes who really truly fully believe this, and there's even jakes who will quote the scriptures but then give this dude a fire sign when he tries to equate ancient Israel to ancient Egypt or ancient Kemetic, dog. And that's the thing with a lot of jakes. Jakes may know about the Israelites. They may understand the Bible. But, bro, when you equate the Bible to Kemeticism, when you equate the Bible to paganism, when you equate the Bible to Christianity, you're not doing what Yahawashi said, where you must honor the Most High in spirit and in truth. A lot of these dudes be trying to mix falsehoods with the true understanding of the Bible, and ultimately it's because the Most High is perverting their knowledge, and this dude likes to think he's deep. And I've even heard dudes say that the Most High, Yahawah, now they call him Yahweh, and this is blasphemy, but they'll sit here and say that Yahweh is just El. Because these dudes are bugged out, and that's essentially just the mystery of iniquity clouding these dudes' minds from getting a proper understanding. Because when you actually research and you try to accurately understand the names and the descendants of each name of the patriarchs of that time, you can understand that they're not the same, bro. So one dude asked him, he said, "Do you have a copy of the Torah? Whilst I wait for the oldest Bible in the world found in Ethiopia to be translated. And what are your views on the Hebrew Israelites and their African ancestry? Were there Africans? Is there historical evidence that some were?" And he said the Kemites called foreigners Habiru, basically their term for Hebrew, meaning foreigner. That's the start of Hebrew history. The Habiru lived in and around Kemet alongside the Kemites for centuries. They're essentially a tribe of Kemites who left Kemet. They're exactly the same Africans as the rest of us, which is false. Again, this is false, but if you're somebody who doesn't actually believe and stand with the Bible, you're going to say something like this. So I want to actually get into the history of what actually happened after the flood with Noah and his 3 sons. We had Ham, we had Shem, and we had Japheth, right? So I just want to get this map. Now, while this map isn't the most accurate, it just basically gives you an overarching understanding of what the land looked like, especially in the land of Africa, quote unquote Africa at the time. So you got this big, circle for Kush. And when you brothers understand the pattern of the Nile River, right? The Nile River flowed from south to north, but the land of the southern Nile was higher than the land of the northern Nile, which was called Lower Egypt, right? So you got a big branch, which is Kush, where predominantly the Kushites dwelt, and then you have Lower Egypt, which is where you see Kemet, which is where I think it was what's the brother's name? Brother Mizraim dwelt. And you have to understand the sons of Ham in order to understand who really dwelt in these lands. Let's go to the book of Genesis real quick. So this is Genesis chapter 10, verse 1. It says, "Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And unto them were sons born after the flood." And I want to go down to verse 6 because it speaks about the sons of Ham. So it says, "And the sons of Ham, Cush and Mizraim and Phut and Canaan. And the sons of Cush," and it goes down. And y'all brothers obviously understand who Nimrod is because he was one of the great rulers who ruled with his father Cush, right? But I really want to just look at verse 6 where it says the sons of Ham, Cush, Mizraim, and Phut. Because you have to understand in this time, there were no humans. After the Most High flooded the earth and killed off the remaining families of the earth outside of Noah and his 3 sons and their wives, when they came out of the ark, they literally had thousands and thousands of miles of land that they could claim for their own. And you also have to understand in that time period, Humans, they lived a much longer time period, and the reason why that happened is just because the Most High wanted to allow them to repopulate the earth, which is why many men were living hundreds and hundreds of years. So you have to understand, when Ham came off the ark, when Japheth came off the ark, when Shem came off the ark, they had generations and generations of sons and daughters, and they repopulated the earth very quickly. So you have to understand, whenever Ham had his 3 sons or his 4 sons populate the earth, they took large chunks of land. So let's look at that map again, because you have who? You have Cush, right? You go back, you see Cush predominantly in Sudan and the lower parts of modern day Egypt, right? And then you also have Mizraim. Now, when you look up if you look up and study Mizraim and where he settled in what people would call modern day Egypt, but mainly the lower Egypt, which is the Nile Delta, which is where you get the capital city of Cairo. You also have that quote unquote city of Heliopolis. Let's look at that map that dude brought up earlier. As you can see right here, this is the Nile River Delta. So you have the city, it doesn't have it specifically, but you got Ramses, you had Heliopolis or On, you had the city of Memphis, right? You also had the pyramids, quote unquote, and you had the Nile flowing in before it starts to create a Nile Delta because it went into the Mediterranean Sea. So you have to understand that the people who predominantly populated this were the descendants of Mizraim, but Cush was the main ruler because he was the one who was able to unite the lands together of quote unquote Cush, the land of Cush and the land of Kemet. And the Bible even talks about the lands of Ham and who descended there. Let's go to the book of Psalms. So this is Psalms chapter 78 verse 51. It says, "And the Most High smote all the firstborn in Egypt, the chief of their strength in the tabernacles of Ham," letting you know that the Hamites were the one who were descending in the land of Egypt. And we can look up the concordance for Ham, the land of Ham. Again, what does it say? Ham, Hot, second son of Noah, father of Canaan and various peoples which were inhabitants of the southern land. In late usage, a collective name for the Egyptians. So the Egyptians oftentimes had the surname of Ham. And when you look up the land of Kim is just really another word for Ham, but it's just the Hebrew equivalent. You see what I mean? So you guys, once you guys kind of understand who dwelt in the land of Ham, then you want to go back to the other son, right? You also had the other son of Ham, which was who? Which was Canaan, right? And we understand that the promise of Abram, which eventually his name came into Abraham, he was going to get what? The land flowing with milk and honey, aka the land of Canaan. So who dwelt in the land of Canaan, which is today modern day Israel / Lebanon? Excuse me. It was who? It was Canaan, and they became what? The Canaanites. Now, what is the key aspect for y'all to be able to understand what was going on in that time period? Is that all of the sons of Ham, they followed what? They followed the divine trireme. Because when you look at the descendants of Canaan and the descendants of Cush, right, or the descendants of Ham, aka Kim, is they all followed a polytheistic religion. Because you have to remember, at this time you had what? You had the Tower of Babel, and all the families spoke one quote unquote language, and they all worshipped and followed after the apostasy that was created by Cush, his son Nimrod, and then their his wife / mother Semiramis, aka Father God, the Mother Goddess, and their divine child. So when you look up this, let's look this up real quick. So you look this up, it says, who is God in Kemet, right? It says, in ancient Egypt, or Kemet as it was known to its people at the time, one key concept was the relationship among 3 deities: Asar, Aset, and Haru. Asar being the father, Aset being the mother, and Haru being the child. It says most Americans today know them by the names the Greeks gave them as Osiris, Isis, and Horus. Again, Osiris, Isis, and Horus. So y'all brothers obviously understand that the Kemet, in ancient Kemet, they followed a polytheistic religion, quote unquote, a religion, belief system, right? Now we also understand that in Canaan it was the same thing. Why? Because they learned the same ways from their father. Let's actually look it up real quick. All right, so this is the Canaanite religion, the people who ruled in Israel before the Israelites did, right? So it says, The Canaanite religion was a group of the ancient Semitic religions practiced by the Canaanites, living in the ancient Levant from at least the early Bronze Age through the 1st century AD. Canaanite religion was polytheistic, in some cases monolatristic, right? So let's go down and look up beliefs. So as you can see right here, these are all the gods that they follow, right? And the main one is who? You see right here, this is a idol for Baal, right? It says a group of deities in a 4-tier hierarchy headed by El and Asherah, because El is who? El is the father of Baal, aka he's the father god. Then you also have Asherah or Astarte, which is what? The mother goddess, the fertility goddess. And then you have their child who became Baal. Now these are all these damn false pagan, false gods that they believed in. But you can see right here, you got Baal, you got Bel, Chemosh, you know what I mean? And essentially those gods all came under different names. And you have to understand Baal was a sun god, just like Ra or Horus. He was a sun god as well in ancient Kemetic. So when you go back to that map that the brother posted, right? And you look at the map called Heliopolis, right? The city of the sun. That was the name for that city in Egypt. But because Canaan had the same religion as ancient Egypt, they also had the same name, which was called what? Bahasham. So when y'all brothers look up the history, you see that the name Heliopolis, the city of the sun, aka according to the Bible, that was where Joseph essentially was sold for bondage. And they practiced what? They practiced sun worship. Now when you go and you see when the brother had posted the different cities, right? You also have the city of Beshemesh, which was what? The city of the sun. Because a lot of times what they used to do in the ancient world is they would name cities the same name, even though it was in a different location. Just like now, you got Memphis, Egypt, you got Memphis, Tennessee, you got York in England, and you got York in New York. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because it's very funny and it's very laughable. And the Most High always makes these things plain. When you got niggas, no disrespect, but when you got niggas like him who like to sound good because he's a scoffer, essentially the Most High will put him into his own delusion, when all you literally got to do is open the Bible, read it, and do some research, bruh. It's very easy to disprove a lot of the stuff that comes out of these dudes' mouth, because quite honestly, they don't know what they're talking about. But because they lack faith and they believe that the Bible is based on Egypt, hey, the Most High confounds their minds. When you go down, let's go down. This is Genesis 10:31. It says, these are the sons of Shem after their families and after their tongues. These are the families of the sons of Noah after their generations in their nations. And by these were the nations divided. And y'all brothers, when y'all read in Genesis, we obviously understand that Abraham was of the line of Shem. And then after Abraham was Isaac. And after Isaac was Jacob. So for any dude to sit here and say a Kemetic Israelite, you got to be either confused or you got to be following after your false pridehood because you lack faith. Because how can you be from the seed of Kemet, which is aka Ham, and Ham and Shem are two different people? You see what I mean? It doesn't make no damn sense. Now, the reason why the land of Israel had a lot of cities that were named after these false gods is because, first and foremost, the land was occupied by people who followed after sun worshipers and followed after that divine trireme. Let's go to Genesis 15. Genesis chapter 15, verse 12, it says, and when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, a horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abram, know of you surety that your seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And we understand that land was Egypt. Verse 14, it says, and also that nation whom you shall serve will I judge, and afterwards shall they come out with great substance. And you shall go to your fathers in peace. You shall be buried in a good old age, but in the 4th generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. And when you brothers read where it says in the 4th generation they shall come here again, the generation from who was it? From Joseph unto what was the brother name? Moses. It was not really 4 generations. It was a much longer period of lineage. But when you read in the Bible, they didn't name all the men who were there, who dwelt in that land, because we understand that 4 generations doesn't span 400 years. You see what I'm saying? There's no way that all them brothers was having seed at 100. That's not what the Bible says. So sometimes you may read it and think that the Bible is contradictory, but when you just do some research, many times in the Bible, not all of the names of the patriarch was named from the generation from Levi all the way to Moses, Aaron, and Miriam, whenever that generation came. And that's when the Most High led the people through Moses out of the land of Egypt. So you got to understand that. But getting back into this, reading up, it says the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. So basically, when Abraham was in the land of Canaan, it was predominantly preoccupied by Canaanites, because the Amorites are descendants of Canaan. Let's look it up real quick. It says Amorite, a sayer, one of the peoples of East Canaan and beyond the Jordan, dispossessed by the Israelites' incursion from Egypt. Continuing on, it says H559, prominence thus a mountaineer, an Amorite, one of the Canaanitish tribes, Amorite. And a lot of times when you read the Bible, you'll see Hittite, you'll see, Amorite, Philistine. Again, when you look at a tree, all of these are just names that stem from the same family tree. They all go back to Ham. They all go back to Ham. They all go back to Canaan. But again, from the time of Abraham to the time of Canaan, I think it was like anywhere from 10 to 13 generations. Don't quote me on it. Y'all brothers got to do y'all research. But when you looked at a lineage from Shem to Abraham, it was anywhere from, I want to say 8 to 10 generations. Because again, in that time, men were living much longer than they do in modern times, right? So you have to be able to understand and honestly just have basic reading comprehension, because a lot of these brothers, again, they didn't really read the Bible, or they might have read the Bible, but they're just trying to scoff and disprove it, and they make themselves look stupid and foolish. Let's go down to verse 18. It says, in the same day Yahawah made a covenant with Abram, saying, unto thy seed have I given this land from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates, the Canaanites, the Kenizzites, the Kadamites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Rephaims, the Amorites, the Canaanites, and the Girgashites, and the Jebusites. So basically the Most High was telling Abraham, your descendants would possess the land of all these peoples. But again, you have to understand that land was named after who? Was named after men. It's a very simple concept, dog. A very, very, very simple concept. And you also have to understand that a lot of these men named their cities after the false gods that they followed and that they worshiped. Just like when you understand the 12 tribes. Many of the 12 tribes were named after who? The Most High. I mean, look at Judah or Yahawah. Essentially, Yahawah is in the name of the tribe of Judah. You see what I'm saying? Because it means something. Just like when you look up Israel, when you look up Yasharallah, it means the prince of the power, meaning this what? The son of the Most High. So I don't want to talk shit, but it's just real funny when you see brothers out here disproving, and they got so much pride that they can't sit here and understand how foolish they look. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy, because it actually talks about when the Most High would take them out of the land, he told them to not follow after the ways of the heathen. All right, so this is Leviticus 18:1. Salaki is Leviticus, not Deuteronomy. This is 18 verse 1. It says, Yahawah spoke unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, I am Yahawah your God. After the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein you dwell, shall you not do. And after the doings of the land of Canaan, where I bring you, shall you not do. Neither shall you walk in their ordinances, because in both lands they were following and worshiping the sun. Again, which is why both of those different cities in 2 different lands have that name, And even the Bible will explain to you, right? Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 16. It says, and say, thus says Yahawah unto Jerusalem, your birth and your nativity is of the land of Canaan. Your father was an Amorite and your mother a Hittite. Now was Jerusalem's father literally an Amorite? No. Their father was Abraham, who was a Shemite, right? But the land was preoccupied and was dwelling with Amorites and Hittites, which are just tribes of Canaan, right? Verse 4 says, and as for thy nativity, in the day you were born, thy navel was not cut, neither were you washed in water to supple thee. You was salted not at all, nor swaddled at all. Meaning the Most High saw us in a very vulnerable and unclean state, right? But I want to go down and I want to get verse 45. I read verse 44. It says, behold, everyone that uses proverbs shall use this proverb against thee, saying, as is the mother, so is her daughter. Meaning what? That the people who ruled in the land before Israel, they followed after false idols and pagan gods. And just like the mother, the daughter follows suit. Meaning the people of Israel followed after the people before it and went against the commandments of the Most High. Verse 45, it says, you are your mother's daughter that loatheth her husband and her children. And you are the sister of thy sisters, which loathed after husbands and their children. Your mother was a Hittite and your father an Amorite. And thy elder sister Samaria, which is the northern kingdom, she and her daughters that dwell at the left hand, and your younger sister that dwelleth at thy right hand is Sodom and her daughters. And this is just the Most High using the language of Israel following after the same sin of Sodom. Even when Yahawashi came and dwelt and he was going into the land, there was one town that he went into and he said, it is better if you had been at Sodom, because of all the wickedness that they were doing in the land. They were going to get a judgment worse than Sodom when Yahawashi was to return. Basically just him speaking on the inhabitants who denied him. They would see the same fate as what happened with Sodom and Gomorrah. What? Raining of fire. So y'all have to understand that, you know, obviously our brothers understand, but I know sometimes when you new, a lot of Jakes, y'all be new, y'all be saying how we dwelt and we're the ones who created Egypt. No, we didn't create Egypt. I mean, no disrespect, but we don't give a damn about Egypt. We don't care about the Hamites. We don't care about the Cushites. We don't care about the Canaanites. We are not alike them. The Most High wanted us to be separate and holy from them. We're not the same. We're different. You know what I mean? Like Lil Wayne said, we are not the same. I am a Martian. We're aliens to the world. We're the only ones that the Most High deemed to be different compared to all these other people on the earth, man. So you got to relish it and cherish it. And don't let no damn dude on Twitter talk about and saying we're Kemetic Israelites, because he doesn't know what he's talking about. And this is just a map, you know, before our forefathers conquered the land. It shows you many of the different tribes that were in there. The Edomites, the Moabites, the Ammonites, the Amorites. You see what I'm saying? The Philistines, Phoenicians. So the land had many different peoples, which is why we had to come in and conquer and kill and destroy them, so that way we can cleanse the blood, because they were committing all type of abominations, you know? And this is the land of many of the cities. And you can see right here, in between Dan, Benjamin, and Judah, it's kind of hard to see, but you have Beth Shemesh, because again, that city was named after the Canaanites. The Canaanites were the ones who named that city that, which translates to what? The city of the sun. So Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. Again, don't allow none of these brothers to try to conflate your knowledge and have you believing in falsehoods like them. Lord willing, y'all brothers, you know, continue to grow and edify yourself. So I want to give all praise to Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi. Until next time, it's the brother Ash signing out.